Qatar and the UK. We have an excellent panel today, and I noted that we have attendees from both the UK and Qatar listening in. And just as more of you are joining on, some housekeeping items. I'd just like to inform the audience that the event's going to be an hour and 30 minutes, and towards the end of the session, we'll be opening it for questions. So as you go through your questions, you can type them in the chat bar, and you can address them to one of the panel members, ideally, and then we'll come to those towards the end of the session. The session will be recorded, and in terms of your cameras, it would be good if you could actually just turn those off. That will save on the bandwidth for everybody. And MS Teams actually provides translations and subtitles feature. It's in the captions section. So to access that, if you click on the three dots to the right, then you'll see an option. You can choose captions, and you can actually select your preferred language. Finally, just a reminder, if you are a UK alum and you haven't registered as a member of the Qatar-UK Alumni Network, please do register through the link in the chat box, which will be posted, and you can receive updates and invites for upcoming talk series and more. So with that, just those housekeeping items, I'd like to turn the floor over to the British Council Country Director, Mrs. Sam Ayton, to welcome you all. Sam, over to you.
Thanks very much, Garfield. Morning, everyone. A really warm welcome on behalf of us at the British Council. We're really delighted to be holding this talk this morning, and thank you very much for making the time to join us. We really, really appreciate it. If you haven't joined any of our alumni events previously, just to say that we run a range of activities for UK alumni here in Qatar, to keep our alumni network connected and provide them with a space to share ideas and expertise. And so this talk series, for example, we focus on different areas of interest over the course of the year. But today we are very, very excited about this particular topic. As the UK's Cultural Relations Organisation, our success is predicated on ensuring that equality, diversity and inclusion sits at the heart of the work that we do all around the world. And a particular priority for us across the work that we do in education is to support the exchange of ideas and knowledge on inclusive education for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities. So we're really delighted to be doing this morning. I'd like to thank our esteemed panel in advance. It's a real privilege to have you all with us together today. So welcome to everyone. I hope you really enjoy the talk and have lots of questions that you want to ask. And I'm going to hand back now to Garfield. Thank you. Garfield, you're on mute. I can't hear you, Garfield. Perhaps, are you?
Garfield, could you try maybe unplugging the headphones possibly? I believe we've lost Garfield. In that case, we'll proceed and he'll resume as we can. Hi everyone, my name is Paula Jensch. I'm the projects coordinator for the British Council, and we will begin with Mrs. Samantha Gibson and Dr. Sarah Broadhurst from Sharaka Holdings and Autism Education Trust respectively to discuss on Qatar statistics and research findings. Over to you, Ms. Sarah.
Okay, before we start, I just want to check, can you see that presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'm really sorry, for some reason I seem to have an issue with my laptop. Paula, I don't know if you're able to share for me instead.
Sure, I'll do that right now. Thank you. Is it visible?
It is. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. I'm back.
Okay, well, firstly, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Sam Campion Gibson.
Sam, you've gone mute.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'll introduce myself really briefly. I'm Sam Campion Gibson. I work for Sharaka Education. I'm a head teacher of a special school that will be opening next academic year. Previously, I worked for Qatar Foundation as an autism specialist, and it's a real privilege to be here. So thank you for inviting me to be a panelist here this morning. Myself and Sarah are just going to share through the UK and Qatar autism statistics. So Sarah, if you'd like to start with our next slide, talking through autism in the UK.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so I'm Sarah, and I am the director. Sorry, I've got a lot of feedback. Sam, do you mind just muting for a minute? Thank you. I'm the director for the Autism Education Trust, and we work closely with various partners, including the National Autistic Society here in the UK, who have done quite a bit of research, as you might expect, around numbers and also how autistic young people and their families feel. So that's what I'm presenting today. So we know that the UK population of approximately 67 million, 1 in every 100 people are on the autistic spectrum. We have around 700,000 people with a diagnosis. So obviously not everybody who is autistic wants a diagnosis or has a diagnosis. We have approximately 3 to 1 boys to girls, but we also know that there are issues in terms of how we diagnose and identify girls. There are almost 151,000 children recorded with autism as their primary need. So here in the UK, special education needs are recorded in various categories around their education, and they may have several needs, but we know that 151,000 of them have autism as their primary need. Around 83,000 children have an education healthcare plan. 83,000 autistic children have an education healthcare plan. The education healthcare plans here in the UK are essentially the plan that helps you get the support that you might need in your education provision. And we know that autistic children are the largest group represented within the education healthcare plan, population, if you like. And actually that cohort of children is almost double any other cohort of children. So there is massive need around autistic children and education. Around 86,000 autistic children receive some sort of SEND support, so they might not have an education healthcare plan, but they are still receiving special education needs support from their school settings. We also know that over 70% of autistic children are educated in mainstream schools, so that's across primary and secondary schools, but 70% of them educated in mainstream schools, not specialist education provision. Okay, moving on, thank you. In 2017, the NAS Parliamentary Inquiry on Education, working with the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Autism, found that fewer than half of the children and young people, autistic children and young people, say that they are happy at school. So if we think that 70% of them are in mainstream settings, we know that fewer than half of them are going into school, having a happy, positive experience that's building on their well-being. 6 in 10 young people and 7 in 10 parents say the main thing that would make school better for them is having a teacher who understands autism. So that interaction in the classroom between them and their teaching staff, and knowing that that teaching staff really understands autism is the thing that would make the biggest difference for them. But we also know that fewer than 5 in 10 teachers say they are confident about supporting a child with autism. So here in the UK, we know that there is a big need as well across teachers and the education workforce generally in terms of teaching them about autism so that they feel confident to support our autistic children and young people. Here in the UK, children with autism are twice as likely to be excluded from school, often due to them not being able to engage or engaging in behaviours that the school deem to result in the need for exclusion. And we also know that children with autism are the most represented group at SENDIS. So SENDIS are one of our organisations that supports families and children who are struggling in education and struggling to maintain education. So they are the most represented group there as well. So lots of work to do is my summary of that. And over to you, Sam.
Thank you. And it is really interesting seeing the comparisons between the two countries. So here in Qatar, we have a population of approximately 2.7 million. And in 2019, the Qatar Biomedical Research Institute published their article, and it was a 6-year study of looking at the prevalence of autism here in the country. And the outcomes really revealed that the prevalence of autism here in Qatar is 1.14%, or 1 in 87 children. We have 1 in 56 boys, and 1 in 230 girls, so that's approximately about 4 to 1. And again, as Sarah said, looking at the different diagnoses of girls in particular, it can be tricky looking at that actual data. So from the results and based on the 2016 census, the study estimated that approximately 4,791 individuals in Qatar have autism between the ages of 1 and 20 years of age. And so overall, the study found that the prevalence of autism is slightly higher than the World Health Organization average of 0.6 to 1%, although different studies have different study variables, and methodology actually may vary as well. So it'd be really interesting moving forward for us here in Qatar to also look at some of the key issues for parents, for actual people and young people with autism, to be able to talk through and what their voice is, really talking about how they feel about mainstream settings, thinking about specialist provision, and that research really, will be coming forward from Qatar. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. And Sam, I assume you can hear me now. Yes, that's a nod. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it was one of those inevitable technical issues that happens on these things, right? So, well, thank you very much. My apologies for not being able to give both of you a proper introduction, but certainly appreciate the overview of statistics and kind of the current state. It's interesting. Just the overall prevalence. I'm sure most wouldn't quite realize that. So just a reminder, if you do have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. We'll be collecting those and circling back towards the end. And it's great if you have a specific question towards a specific presenter, you can identify that as well. So thank you both. And next, we will hand it over to Ms. Sherri, who's director of Renad Academy, to give her inputs on Renad's outreach and integration programs.
Thank you. I think Sam actually had some more information that she wanted to provide. So let her go ahead, and then I'll join after that. Thank you.
Absolutely, Sam. We have plenty of time. But absolutely, Sam, over to you.
Thank you. And I think Paula was just sharing the presentation for me just then.
Great.
Okay, so I again just thank you for the invite of being here. It's a real honour to be here, and I'm going to talk through some of the key initiatives here in Qatar. So I firstly wanted to highlight this really very important day of World Autism Awareness. And throughout its history, the United Nations family has celebrated diversity and promoted the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities, including learning differences and developmental disabilities. And in 2007, Her Highness Sheikh Moza bint Nasser, the UN representative of the state of Qatar, first proposed World Autism Awareness Day. And the United Nations General Assembly declared 2nd of April as World Autism Awareness Day to really highlight the need to provide to improve the quality of life of those people with autism, and have really celebrated this day since 2008. And each year here in Qatar, most organisations have a month-long celebration of different activities, with many of the organisations lighting up buildings in blue. And because of Her Highness's influence and commitment, autism provision is really high on the agenda here in Qatar, and we actually have a national autism plan in place. So when we talk about education on the spectrum, we first of all really need to highlight that autism is a difference, not a deficit. And the picture on the left really depicts this. We cannot measure achievement for our young people with the same standards. And the picture on the right comes from the National Autistic Society and depicts a continuing spectrum with individual fingerprints representing the uniqueness of every single person with autism. And as we know, each child is unique, and we have to plan for the individual needs of the child by providing a real breadth of opportunities to allow each child to flourish really successfully. As we also know, there is no one-size-fits-all approach, and we have to use a huge range of tools to support learning. And this really depends on the child's needs, their strengths, and the abilities of the child and young person with autism. And therefore, in schools, we really have to provide a curriculum that showcases each child's talents, tailoring the curriculum to the individual needs, not trying to make the student fit into that curriculum. So the Autism Education Trust shares in its Good Autism Practice Guide 4 themes and 8 principles when working with children and young people with autism. We have understanding the individual, positive and effective relationships, enabling environments, and then learning and development. And these key themes really support the individual with autism and facilitates their learning journey by supporting that transition into adulthood. And when we're talking about education in schools, we really need to support not just the individual with autism, but the whole family and the wider community. And this has always been a fundamental aspect of working with any child on the spectrum. And as I talk through the key initiatives here in Qatar, we will see how many of these themes and principles are highlighted within each project. We will see organisations that support and collaborate with parents, and families, how the strengths and skills of our young people with autism are utilised, how accessibility to the curriculum is enabled through different tools, and how the curriculum is modified to be able to support the learning needs of our students, as well as how sport contributes to the well-being and positive mental health of our young people with autism. So firstly, in supporting families, here in Qatar, we have the Ministry of Public Health's Autism e-learning website, which is an online resource for families and children and young people with autism. And the site was first launched last year during the pandemic to really support families at home. And there are a number of key partners across Qatar who contribute to the content of the materials on the platform. And Dr. Noof will be sharing more information in her presentation regarding the website. And really highlighting the Qatar-UK partnership. Here in Qatar, we deliver the National Autistic Society UK's Early Bird programmes, which again are training programmes for parents and families of children with autism. And a number of organisations across Qatar deliver the Early Bird and Early Bird Plus programmes. And Sherri will be sharing more of this information in her presentation about the Early Bird. So here in Qatar, we have the Qatari Autism Society, which was established in 2017. And QAS is a non-profit organisation, which is really dedicated to providing advocacy and support services for children with autism and their families. And QAS's aim is to build a society that has acceptance towards people with autism without any discrimination and to provide an understanding of their differences. The Society has two main educational programmes. The first, You Complete Us, is for children aged between 3 and 14 years of age. And children can access different therapies such as speech and language therapy, behaviour therapy and occupational therapy. Sorry, can we go back? Their second programme also serves adults with autism and is for young people above the age of 14. It's a practical model which really includes a focus on life skills and enterprise and uses the skills and strengths of the young adults with autism. So, for example, the young people may design and then make key items which are then sold to local companies. And I've seen firsthand this great work that happens at QAS, and it really is a truly fantastic organisation. QAS also provides extracurricular activities such as swimming, horse riding, football, art, and organises social events and workshops for families and professionals. So MARDA is a private assistive technology centre here in Qatar and was founded in 2010. And MARDA promotes digital inclusion for people with disabilities and the elderly here in Qatar. MARDA provides assessments for families and can support schools and organisations in sourcing assistive technology, such as the use of Big Macs, communication software for iPads, adapted keyboards, and larger items such as magic carpet projectors and autism robots. MARDA has provided assistive technology stations in many schools across Qatar and has trained key members of staff through their partnership with Enable Ireland and Qatar University. And these staff members are known as super users, of which I am one. And this initiative has meant that schools have the equipment and trained staff to provide assistive technology for our children with autism regarding their communication, their sensory and their curriculum needs. And as we know, our children with autism are visual learners, and MARDA has also developed an Arabic symbol dictionary. These symbols are culturally specific to the region and are written in both English and Arabic, and the symbols are free to download from the MARDA website. And they really do sit alongside traditional software packages that we may use, such as Boardmaker and Widget. So physical and sporting activities for our children and young people with autism is so important in promoting their social skills when we think about turn taking, sharing, working as a team, and learning to be graceful losers. Sport can also promote a sense of well-being and positive mental health, which is fundamental to our young people with autism. And our children's sensory differences can also be addressed with sporting activities. And so Qatar Foundation's Ability Friendly programme was established in 2018, and they've been delivering sports and recreational activities for the disabled community. QF's programme initially started for children with autism, but now it is actually inclusive of all disabilities. And the core activities include football, swimming, cricket, play ball, and also arts and crafts. And the programme operates across Qatar in Doha, Al Khor and Al Wakra, and majority of the programme, the actual activities are provided after school and during the school holidays. However, the Ability Friendly team can also provide sessions for schools, which really enhances the PE and sports curriculum. Within the next phase of the QF programme, the team will be working with a variety of practitioners to make them disability confident in delivering accessible activities. And continuing with the theme of sport, we move on to the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Qatar really wants to ensure that the FIFA World Cup 2022 offers all spectators the most accessible and inclusive tournament as possible. And the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy have considered all aspects of a disabled spectator's journey, from entering the country at the airport, the infrastructure, including transport links and pedestrian routes, accommodation, stadia accessibility, including disability awareness training. And the Supreme Committee has also looked beyond these features by including facilities such as sensory rooms and adult changing facilities inside the stadia. And in 2016, the Accessibility Forum was established and considers the viewpoints of users and experts in disability to really make sure we have an inclusive and accessible tournament. And the forum includes residents of Qatar with disabilities and organisations that represent the needs of people with disabilities. Members of the forum have completed a range of audits, including looking at transport networks and specific routes when attending matches. Accessibility audits of the stadia have also taken place when members of the forum have examined the facilities within a stadium, such as how accessible the toilets are, the accessibility to food outlets, and the appropriateness of seating arrangements. And I'm actually part of the Accessibility Forum, and when I've completed any audits within the stadia, I'm really thinking about our children with autism, thinking about the journey into the football stadium, the noise, the busyness within the stadium, and the placement of the seats for easy access to key facilities in the ground. One great initiative, though, is the setting up of the sensory rooms. And already the forum has set up sensory rooms for the previous tournaments, such as the Club World Cup. And this really allowed families of children with autism to be able to attend the games while providing a quieter, less stimulating space. And it also supported that emotional regulation for those children and young people who may otherwise find attending a football match too overwhelming. And then finally, following on from the Accessibility Forum, I also wanted to share the Tamreen World Cup resources that the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy and the Ministry of Education have written. I've been in education for over 20 years, and I've really not seen such fantastic World Cup materials. They are cross-curricular, and they can be used by teachers and students in the classroom, but also parents at home. The resources can be used obviously before the tournament, during and after, and will actually leave a real legacy for the tournament. The materials also showcase Qatari heritage, culture and traditions. For example, there's a toolkit regarding designing a stadium. And so the module really explores key features of a stadium and talks about how each stadium is designed around one aspect of Qatari heritage. For example, the Al Bayt Stadium is based on a nomadic tent. And so students then have to actually design and build their own stadium. I've been involved in adapting several of the Tamreen toolkits for children with needs, including autism, and these are called the Tamreen Ability Friendly Curriculum Toolkits. So teaching resources and materials have been adapted so that children can really access the learning. So for example, we've included more visual supports as well as ideas for really practical aspects to learning so that the key concepts are more concrete for our children with autism. And the toolkits are accessed online so that schools and families around the globe will be able to access the website. Tamarine will be launched in the coming weeks, and I would urge anyone in education, as well as families at home, to sign up to the site to really share in the celebrations, because they really are truly amazing resources. I've put a page here just regarding further information and the links to various websites, which I'm sure will be available after the webinar. And I would just like to say thank you very much for letting me share all the different initiatives here in Qatar.
Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate the presentation. I am thankful I didn't miss that while I was disconnected there, but a very informative presentation. And I will note that a number of the organizations you've cited in your presentation are joining us today and listening in. So all very good. And thank you for the audience as well. I noticed there's at least one question posted already, and one comment as well I see from Mr. Alistair Gilbert citing the Early Bird program as fantastic, and who has a son in the primary school in the UK, and happy to seeing it being offered here. So thank you very much for the comment and the questions as well. We're going to batch those together, so please by all means post those in the chat box. With that, so Sherri, we've come to the point where we can hand it over to you now. Didn't want to preempt that earlier, but I appreciate it. Of course, again, Sherri is the director of Renad Academy, and she's going to give her inputs from Renad's outreach and integration programs. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to get to be a part of this. Always talking about all of the things that are happening in Qatar are really exciting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put up my, oh, you've got it up for me, Paula. Thank you. So yeah, I just want to go ahead and share a little bit about our school and what we've been doing. What I need, sorry. Great. Well, I'll just go ahead and get started. So Renad Academy, we opened in 2016, and it was Qatar Foundation decided that there was a great need. Even though they had AWSAJ, they were finding more and more students that needed something special regarding autism, and asked that I come over and open the school. We started with just 3- and 4-year-olds at that time, and then we've added a grade level every year. So now we have students starting at age 3 all the way up to 5th grade, and next year we'll be venturing into middle school. The other thing that we started doing was in 2019, we started having students attend other schools. I'm actually still back on the other slide. So we started having them attend other schools that are QF schools, and we call these our integration classrooms. This is where we have students who are actually academically capable of being in a typical classroom, but the impact of autism on them precludes them from being successful there. And we started in 2019 with the classroom at Qatar Academy Sidra. This year we've added a classroom at Tariq bin Zayed School, and next year we hope to add a classroom in Qatar Academy Al Waqra. So this is really exciting for us, and our goal is not that all of our students would be integrated. It's that the students who can be successful in integration are there. And when we look at statistics like how many students are happy in the UK with school, sometimes automatically going to integration can be somewhat overwhelming for a student. And so we're trying to create a pathway that is very safe and secure, ensures success for the student, for the parents, for the entire school that's hosting, and making sure we go at a pace that allows for that success. It's been so exciting to be able to venture forward in this as Qatar Foundation completely embraces the concept of integration and inclusion. All right, now I'm ready for the next slide. Thanks. So back whenever we opened, we contracted with National Autistic Society to come along and provide feedback to us on how we're doing establishing a new school for children with autism. I like to say that they were contracted just to make sure that Huey didn't hire someone like me and then have me steer the program off into the deep end. Fortunately, I did not do that, and National Autistic Society gave very positive feedback on our first year of development. We've continued to work alongside National Autistic Society in several different ventures, and this year we will be finalizing the accreditation that we are seeking from National Autistic Society as a school who successfully supports children with autism. We would have been able to wrap that up a few years ago, but COVID hit, and so we've had to put that on hold. But now that we're able to travel, all right, I'm ready for the next slide. Great. One of the key aspects that we've had at Renad since the beginning, of course, we're a school, and of course, we're educating students, but we also need to work with the community and to ensure that the lives of these very students of ours have meaning and that they can reach a level of access to the community where they're accepted, people are aware, and they can engage with all of the different avenues that the community has to offer. And so from the beginning, we've reached out to the community and tried to develop as many programs as we could. You know, even the Ability Friendly program, which Sam referenced, you know, our very first year, we ran into a roadblock. We wanted to have our students go swimming in a QF pool, and nobody had ever heard of that. That you know, we could use a swimming pool that other students in other schools use, and yet we worked through that roadblock, and now it's just flourished into a whole different group within Qatar Foundation, the Ability Friendly group, running a whole program for the whole country. And so as we have sought to increase awareness and acceptance, we've really seen the country move very quickly in that growth. So just some of the things that we are doing currently is we decided it would be a wonderful idea if we could offer businesses training on what is autism, how to interact with people who have autism that come into your place of business, and really how to engage and what strategies will work to make that a successful visit for them. How better to increase awareness and acceptance, to offer direct training. And so we knew that National Autistic Society had some trainings that provided certification for people once they had completed the training. And so we came into an agreement with them. They came and trained us. And in the next slide, you can see where we're receiving the training from them here in Qatar. This is actually Mandy and Lorraine from National Autistic Society that are training our staff so that we can then provide this training to others in our country. We are audited by them every other year. They come and watch us deliver the training to ensure that we're doing it as they have believed it should be done. And then we're able to provide a certificate to the people that we train saying, you are now trained in strategies that work for people with autism and how to make them feel comfortable in your place of business. And I think I have, yes. And this is another excellent example of how we used that. So we have fortunately for us at Renad Academy, we're being part of Qatar Foundation. There's a location called Al Shakab. It is a world-class horse arena that runs competitive events, and they also run trainings and classes for people on riding horses. We were able to engage with Al Shakab. Not only do they support our autism awareness events, which happen once a year in April, but they also allowed us to train their staff and their coaches in autism. And so our students are able to go and receive horse riding lessons from them based on this partnership that we have. It's been a fantastic opportunity for our students. And I am not myself a person who feels very comfortable around horses. And I did have some trepidation about this, but I am told there's not one student who has come into contact with a horse that had any kind of negative response. We make sure that we do it slowly and successfully again. And it's just another example of taking the time to find that avenue that can make a difference in the lives of our students outside of school, training the people, because it's very open and willing community here. They just want to know what to do and how to do it. We provide that training, we provide that support, and here we go. Now we have a program in place. So recently there was a article in the newspaper here about children with autism accessing the museums. And I'm really proud to say that our staff were able to train the staff at the Qatar National Museum and make it autism friendly so that now people with autism can go there and enjoy the museum just as anyone else. And so really pleased we have several examples of this. Currently, we are seeking to train the Olympic Committee on how to run classes for people with autism. And we're also now seeking out the Qatar Foundation Golf Academy to work with them. So always we're collaborating, we're always seeking opportunities to train more people. And really with the support of the National Autistic Society curriculum, we were able to get this going really smoothly and easily. Love this picture. There we go. As mentioned by Sam, another thing that we connected and collaborated with National Autistic Society was on their early bird trainings. I'm not from UK, but our first principal that we had at Renad Academy was from UK. She was very familiar with the early bird program. And so we are now at this point, because of her work of bringing early bird into the country, the PHCC has taken over the guidance, which is our public health program here. They've taken over the guidance of this. We have an early bird committee, which operates early bird programs across the country, not just Renad, but also Sidra Hospital, Ministry of Public Health, Hamid Hospital, some other centers that support people with autism, such as Mind Institute, and also Step by Step, which is a school. And I know that as well, Sam, who you just heard from previously, she's now under another umbrella, and she's supporting this program as well. So we're offering at this point the Early Bird program, which goes up to age 7. This is, again, it's a 6 to 8 week course for parents. They come for about 2.5 hours a week. We can provide it in English or Arabic. And the parents, it's a very successful program. The parents are always delighted. It just helps them understand their child better and how to learn more about their child on their own. Early Bird Plus just started being available this school year, and it is for parents of children over the age of 7. And in the future, we hope to offer the other early bird program called Healthy Minds, which is more for adolescents. We're seeking to get that developed this year so that we can offer it soon. I think our next slide just talks about the way we worked through that. We hold sessions every fall and every spring. Again, we're part of a larger committee now, but again, I'm really happy that we're able to be part of this and help change the lives of the families who support our students. I think on the next slide, yes, this is a picture. Of course, we've been having to change our practice during COVID. So we were able to move the program online, and we were able to meet with parents online and keep our social distance. Now Qatar has just moved into phase 4, and we're thrilled we are offering these sessions in person again, because really it's not just about teaching the parents, but it's also developing a relationship with them that can continue and support after the program is over. So I want to talk a little bit more about the integration programs. We have different ways of integrating students. You've heard a little bit of my bias that integration, I don't believe, is for every single student. And there can be a student who is very capable academically, but their anxiety levels are so high that it is extremely difficult for them to enter a typical school. And by having fewer students in the classroom, quieter environment, there's some really positive outcomes that can happen. And so what we seek to do with our integration programs is make them fitting and make sure that everybody has access to the community and to what's happening in the world around them, but with the most support that we can provide. I think our first picture here, this is what we call Friendship Club. So before we even opened any of our classrooms in other schools, we started having friendship clubs. And this is a picture of our students interacting with students from Qatar Academy Sidra. We trained the students, we asked for volunteers, we asked the parents if it was all right if they volunteered. An overwhelming response from the students and the parents saying, yes, please include my child. And so monthly, our students would meet with their volunteers who were slightly older. And this is a picture of having fun at a playground. The bottom picture is, ice cream party. These were really events that all the children enjoyed. We've done other things, going grocery shopping and then, eating pizza. So these are just some of the events during COVID. Of course, these had to be put on hold, but we will be opening them back up very soon. The next slide is a picture of one of our classrooms. This is the classroom at that Qatar Academy Sidra. And this is a typical classroom where they're doing art. And we have some of our students in this classroom as well. And they go in for art. And if they have any need, maybe it's too noisy or maybe something's upsetting them, then they can retreat back to our classroom, which is in the school. But as long as they're able, they integrate with the students. Now, art, it's not necessarily an academic program, but these students that we have there, they are capable in either reading or math. And so it is our goal to have them also integrating for some of the academics. Our plan is not that these students will someday be 100% in a typical classroom. If they're capable of doing that and they reach that point, that's great. Then we will absolutely offer that to them. But we plan to stay with a location in the school for all the rest of their days there, so that if they do need some level of support, we are there to provide it. We're there to provide support to the teachers on how to interact with children with autism. And I think, again, when we look at those very initial pieces of data shared about what are some of the needs whenever we do integration, teachers want to know what to do and they need training. And so by staying on site with them and interacting with them and providing that support, then we hope for a greater level of success. We also, and I know that I don't have a picture for this, and definitely we're always dreaming big, we're always looking for opportunities. I have a really difficult time saying no. I'm always volunteering our staff to do more for the community. But I believe in doing this, we're really reaching Qatar Foundation's goal of not just developing the student, but developing the community. But there is one more program that I do want to highlight. We have several of our students at our school who may not be able to ever be placed in a typical school. So we have community outings on a very high level ratio. So they're out every week in the community, accessing the community, learning how to do that successfully. We're teaching them the skills in the classroom so they can have success. It's a very thorough program and another one that should be highlighted. So thanks so much for your time. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I look forward to more questions later.
Thank you very much, Sherri. Really great to see the scope of the community outreach programs, and I will note, of course, the photo with the horse is rather precious. So with that, we have Mark up. Mark, I appreciate your time this morning. I believe you're going to speak with us with regards to disruptive education, and of course, Mark is director of AWSAJ Academy, of course. So with that, Mark, it's over to you.
Hey, good morning, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to join this very esteemed panel and to have many amazing guests attending this morning. So I feel very privileged and very honoured to be with you. Just as way of introduction, my name is Mark Hughes, and I have the great honour of being the director of AWSAJ Academy, and for the interim director of the Learning Centre, both within the Qatar Foundation. My talk today is very much around the impact and what we've lived through over the last 20 months in terms of our COVID life, and just in terms of the impact on our students with special educational needs. And I'll talk a little bit more about AWSAJ as I go into this presentation. And they're just roughly the kind of topics that I will be hoping to cover, subject to time. I'll be watching the time clock. Everyone who works with Qatar Foundation knows how passionate we are. You've just heard from my colleague Sherri. We are one of two specialist schools within the portfolio of Qatar Foundation schools, currently 13, I believe, within the Qatar Foundation. Renad Academy, as you've learnt, specialises in students who have autistic spectrum conditions, and AWSAJ Academy is particularly designed for students who have the multitude of learning needs, really, from mild to moderate learning difficulties right through to some quite severe and complex learning needs, and many with a range of comorbid conditions. So we cover a very wide range from pre-4 up to grade 12, including evening programs for young adults who are 18 to 25 who fail to graduate from other schools. And we currently have somewhere in the region of 760 students within that age profile. So the current COVID context has had a very profound impact on the world. As we all know, we've all lived through it. We've all been living this life together. But it's also had a very significant impact on how young people learn and has presented a challenge to the education system about how we adapt in light of that experience. I've talked a little bit about Qatar Foundation schools. It is a very significant portfolio of schools within Qatar that has the mission of leading learning within the nation, and it has grappled very fast and very rapidly with this whole concept of how we put together a program of learning that is proactive, that responds to the whole disruption that we've experienced in our lives, and which begins to address the challenges of both face-to-face and blended learning, or completely online. And now, of course, as in this current week, for the very first time in 20 months, we've returned to 100% of students in school. This quote from Her Excellency Sheikh Hind bin Hamad Al Thani, who is our Vice Chair and the Chief Executive of Qatar Foundation, is very meaningful, because what she says in her focus and her vision, and it's an astonishing vision, is that disrupting education means thinking about its true purpose and not just focusing on technology. So that's really to put a line of balance into what I'm about to say, really, in the sense that this is about thinking about the education of the whole child, about personalization, about how we make learning meaningful to children, not just based on the impact of the digital learning, but also all the face-to-face learning, but seeing it very much as something which happens throughout their life, throughout their waking hours, and it's a very clear vision in terms of how we as an education establishment begin to think much more creatively about what we do and how we do it. And about being, as you see in this slide here, there have been some very significant milestones in our journey during our COVID life. We've had to think about how theoretically the model is going to work as we move from one context, face-to-face in schools, to being completely online. We've had to embrace the contribution of a multidisciplinary team, which we are blessed to have within our foundation in terms of access to psychologists, to speech therapists, to occupational therapists, to counselors, to nurses, to all the people who have been very important in supporting both our students and our faculty in how we have lived and survived this COVID journey. We've had to depend very largely on the digital innovation and technology that is available to us in our schools. And again, within Qatar Foundation, we have been blessed that every child has access to a device, be it a laptop or a Chromebook or an iPad, that has truly facilitated their ongoing engagement in the learning process. We have established, I think, much closer links with, in many ways, with our community, I have to say, because we've had to be creative. We've had to depend on our families and our parents to be the co-educators of their child. We've had to connect with people digitally and online, whether it's to do with universities or employers or the community, in terms of supporting the education and learning of our children, both with special educational needs, but also all children in schools. So again, it has been an astonishing period of learning. It has also driven much closer the need for much greater personalization. It is an explicit part of the vision and mission of pre-university education in Qatar Foundation, and it calls for us to explicitly to meet the needs of all children, irrespective of their background or their learning challenges. And that's a very significant set of phraseology, isn't it? Because it completely embraces the fact that our learning community has young people from all manner of backgrounds with a wide range of learning difficulties. The whole concept of the digital technology has offered us a real chance to rethink teaching and learning, and about how it can be a very key tool in motivating students and deepening their engagement with learning in a way that has been less threatening in many ways, in a way that has been much more personalized, whether it is about the the adaptive technology that is needed to support individual students who may have particular learning needs. And I know that Sam mentioned earlier about MADA in terms of the assistive technology that is now available to support learning, and how all of these things are made possible in terms of specialist apps and applications for young people to use. And there are multitudes of them, and there are some very high quality ones. And we begin to look at the impacts of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and very specialized applications to respond to that individual child. We know that in many ways, the blended learning model has enabled a bit greater autonomy for some students. It has enabled that capacity to not have to have the distraction that you would normally have in an AWSAJ class of 10 students in the case of AWSAJ. Our class sizes are no more than 10 because of the diversity of learning needs. And so it has been interesting to watch how some students who would normally have been troubled by the presence of peers, just because they will find it distracting, or they will lead to attention-seeking behaviors, or a multitude really of sensory-based issues. Well, interacting via their device, via their laptop or their Chromebook, has given them a much greater control over some of those environmental features and factors that can adversely affect their life and their learning. In many ways, it has helped to unlock hidden potential for some of those students who find it difficult to communicate in the presence of their peers. It has given them the ability to reach out and have that one-to-one tutorial with a teacher online. It has given that ability really to actually, for us to much more carefully measure what is happening for an individual in terms of their engagement in their own, excuse me, learning process. And it has enabled some students to demonstrate achievement in ways which were not possible with just traditional methods of face-to-face teaching. And it has, as I've said earlier, it has enabled us to look at how we tailor teaching and learning to suit the individual needs of every child in our school service. There's been much research and we've gone to many destinations in terms of engaging with UK companies, formerly Bector, in terms of looking at what research is telling us. This one sources from a very recent UNICEF paper published earlier this year, identifying some key themes in terms of improving educational outcomes. And again, it just reminds us that what COVID has done is caused us to think very carefully about having design solutions that meet for the very different needs of young people. And when I say that, it actually has been significant in our own context at AWSAJ. We have students who present such a wide diversity of learning need. Some, like Ms. Sherri, will have autistic spectrum conditions, some ADHD, some anxiety issues, and so it goes on. And so we are able, and over this 20-month period, have learned so much in terms of how we better manage the learning environment for those young people. And now, as we begin to return to 100%, one of the key challenges and questions I'm presenting to my own faculty is about how far do we need to begin to change and personalize our approach for some students. So the students who struggle to cope with their peer group, who have social, emotional, behavioral difficulties that both disrupt their own learning and the learning of others. What is the evidence telling us of how students have gained significant success in the blended learning journey, and in fact may have exceeded outcomes? And okay, we will have equally many examples of young people, of course, who have struggled in that journey. Students who have found it very difficult to engage through the context of digital media. Students who are very dependent on that key relationship that they build, both with their teachers and with their peers. And that definitely cannot be overlooked. And it is something we've had to work very hard to achieve in that blended learning life. And so just looking at, and I'm not focusing on the negatives of the experience we've had because it's known to us all, but just really picking up the strands of why we've been able to gain significant success in our blended learning life, and just picking up those key themes where young people, it has been very much easier to implement multimodal approaches, different techniques, different digital technologies to support young people. That it has enabled us to be very innovative in terms of our practice, and in terms of looking at how we personalize learning. It has made us evaluate what is the impact of both the physical and virtual learning environments and its place with children who have wide-ranging needs. It has enabled us to look very carefully at how we pace a child's learning, because not all children learn at the same speed and at the same time. And so it's enabled us to review and evaluate that for young people and reflect some of those unique differences through their individual education plans and their student success plans. It has caused us, because we've heard it through direct contact in our meetings, for students to have a very active voice in saying what is working for them and what is not working for them. And that too has been very powerful. We've learned to embrace the gaming technology in ways that really enhance learning. And that has been a very important and a steep learning curve for us. It has resulted in more meaningful contact to some extent. We've had much more dynamic, engaged work with our families and our community because we've so depended on them to support us on the learning journey for their children. And so, yes, just building on that last point, number 8, the learning has been very dependent, not just on us as educators, but also on their mothers, their fathers, their grandmothers, and their siblings. And so it's been an extraordinary journey over the last 20 months, but it has made us find ways of embracing much greater innovation, much greater kind of focus on personalization. And so I think the impact on schools and education going forward may not be completely transformed by what we've experienced, but it's going to be very strongly influenced by what we've experienced. So thank you. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to me today. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you all.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. A really quite fascinating discussion, hearing about the technology, of course, that's become part of the learning process. Really quite interesting. So just notice we have some more comments and some more questions in the chat bar. Please feel free for the audience to type your questions in, and we're going to circle back towards the end. I note a comment from Dr. Resma from the Ministry of Public Health, who's identified that their collaboration with the National Lead for Autism has published a national clinical guideline for autism spectrum disorder, and she's placed the contact information in the chat bar to reach out on that. So thank you very much again to Mark, and over to Dr. Nuthal Siddiqui. A pleasure to have you with us today. Dr. Noof is the health lead for the National Autism Plan and the senior consultant dermatology and venerology at HMC, who's going to share some insight from a family and home perspective. And Dr. Noof is our last speaker today. So Dr. Noof, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Garfield, for presenting me. I would like to thank everyone to be here today, and I'm honored to be with our great speakers. I think the importance of this meeting today and this discussion is that it's uniting us in the autism community, and also from different sectors, and especially focusing on education. But I think the health and education have been working together for a long time, so that's why we are great partners in this. I would like to share my screen if it's possible to start my presentation. Okay, and it will take for me a minute. This is sharing. go. Okay. Let's see, Windows, and I think this is it. Okay, can you see my screen yet?
Yes, we can, Dr.
Yes.
Noof.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Let me go a little bit in the back. Okay. Here we go. I think this is the beginning. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck with. I still have to share. Okay, I can see it. It's there. Okay, I will not touch anything. So I'm Dr. Noof. I'm a mother of an autistic child. My lovely boy is 8 years old. Ali actually goes to Renad Academy, and he's in a great school system that suits his abilities. And proudly, I've been participating in the National Autism Plan creation since 2015, and then I became part of the leadership to implement the plan in the Ministry of Public Health with the guidance and support and the great support of all the leaders, and most importantly, Her Excellency Dr. Ahnan Al-Kuwari. So today, being here, talking about, focusing about family-centered education and all the support that the ministry have given to support family-centered education. I've chosen this title because I think introducing family-centered education for the children on the spectrum is really important, as their families are always involved in their life span from the beginning till the adulthood transition. And as everyone knows that the family starts from the beginning to be involved in any child's knowledge and learning. As Alice Sterling Honing, a professor in sociology, said, first school for good behavior is family. So the main elements involving families, I think, are three. Focusing on children in what they can do, not what they cannot do. So children's strength and strength abilities are really important. Empowering parents, of course, is really important, because if you teach the parents and you give them the right skills, they'll have more confidence in dealing with their kids, and they will definitely help the school or the educational system to reach to better outcomes in future. And the most important also element is having and developing a great communication and a relationship with the experts and the professionals, either in education or the supportive services. Now, as we're focusing on family, I think parents are involved in children's learning process, but ultimately the children really benefits when the parents are actively involved in many of the aspects. As Joyce Epstein have created a framework, actually, where she outlined 6 types of involvement, which shows the effective in home learning. She was focusing definitely on 6 elements, and one of them is definitely parenting. The parenting is part of where we create a better environment for our kids to thrive and to learn. So truly, parent involvement from the beginning, and the communication, the great communication that the school system can create with parents, can help in providing the child the right environment back at home that can support his learning in school. Now, the importance of a family-centered education and how it can contribute to the school education system, as my respected speakers, colleagues have outlined. It's really important to emphasize that there is a big important success when you really involve the family, especially in the early childhood and the small young children who are still going to start school. If you educate their family, if you involve them from the beginning, it's really easy for them to be transmitted into school. It really provides learning opportunities and experiences. If you involve the parents from the beginning, or you really involve the parents through the educational period, there's a lot of experience that those parents can gain year by year, and they were gonna, of course, use them with their children by time. It really emphasize on the function of the family and recognize always that the family comes first in a child lifespan. So how can the professionals support the family-centered approach? Definitely, we have to build great communication system. There has to be great connections whenever, as a parent, if I need the expert opinion or a teacher's support, this relationship has to be built from the beginning. Building a network between parent and teacher is really important. And we always build our services according to the needs of the parents and their children, not according to what we think is right. So what did the Ministry of Public Health do to support the family-centered education? Definitely, there were lots of initiatives. Most importantly, which is I'm so proud of, and Ms. Samantha have already mentioned, is the launch of the Autism e-learning platform. The Autism e-learning platform is launched on the Ministry of Public Health website, and we have been supported by our great partners and their contribution in providing lots of informational videos, evidence-based resources for the parents to educate them online. We've been doing a lot of Zoom sessions that supports also the education of family, and there were interactive actually sessions, and we would never do this without the support of our dear partners. Now, we've been having the data that shows that we have a lot of participants and views from around the world. So we have a lot from the Gulf countries, we have a lot from the Arab countries, but we have also visitors to the website or to the platform from New Jersey, UK, and other parts of the world. What we're focusing on.
Sorry, Dr. Noof, to cut you off. One of the attendees has mentioned that your presentation isn't moving. Could you?
Oh, okay. Shall I stop sharing and share again?
Oh, now it is. Now it's moving. Yes, now it's moving. It's updated.
Shall I? Okay. I'm sorry. You can see the screen now?
Yes, you're on slide 13.
Okay. Perfect. So I was talking only about how can we develop this initiative, the Autism e-learning platform. What we're trying to do is to form opportunities of live consultation to support the parents, especially in the psychological aspect, with our dear partners, HMC. We're trying to do more training tutorials, live ones online, and we're trying also to have some remote interventions or mobile phone applications that can support definitely the learning. The second initiative where MOPH have supported the family-centered education definitely is Al-Hidayah School Child Assessment and Reassessment. So the Ru'a Center for Assessment and Advisory Board, we have members who are experts from the health sector, and those members are actually participating actively to assess the children if they are on the spectrum and discovered newly, or they are reassessed to see at what level they are in their learning journey. Ru'a Center is definitely under the Ministry of Education supervision, but we have a great collaboration, a partnership with them, and it's serving all the ministry's licensed schools. And when they opened Al-Hidayah School in 2016, this was a great success because it was supporting actually all the children with learning disabilities and with focus on autism. So Al-Hidayah School have actually, till now, they reached to 5 schools. 3 of them is having the KG level, and 2 primary from grade 5 to grade 12. And they have actually 3 schools now with secondary, serving the secondary, joining and serving the secondary level. They have 291 students, 172 male and 119 females. Of course, Al-Hidayah School has lots of services that supports children on the spectrum. What's new this year that they have started the pre-employment training. So they're preparing the high school male and female students to be actually enrolled in the employment opportunities in the governmental and non-governmental sector. So I'm really proud of what's happening and changing in the Ministry of Public Health initiative, which started with the launch of the National Autism Plan, and our great partners in the Ministry of Education who have taken lots of steps to improve the education for the autism community. Now, in the Ministry of Public Health, there's another actually a project which was really successful, and we worked on it with the licensing department in the ministry. We have implemented in 2018 a new licensing criteria for the centers which are providing services for the autism population. And mainly we were focusing on the children's safety and to create individualized educational plans for each child and to be shared to the parents, of course, regularly. Of course, we would have never done this great work without the collaboration of the licensing department, the finance department in the ministry, the health affairs department, and most of all, definitely is HMC, Hamad Medical Corporation experts. Of course, we...
Dr. Noof? My apologies. Dr. Noof?
Yes.
Yes, my apologies. Just to note, we're running a bit short on time. We have just one more a quick presentation from Dr. Sarah as well.
Okay, just give me a minute and I'll finish. I'll wrap up No problem, Garfield. Okay, I hope okay, there's something again with the screen. Can you see my screen? Okay. So I'm going back. I'll just say that we're having the Qatar Annual Symposium, which was held actually this year to be online and virtual, and it was with great success. We had a lot of family centered education courses and educational sessions which supported the family, and we're going to continue this every year. And we had attendees of 170 to 180 attendees per day from around the world. The National Autism Plan definitely was a great success to the family involvement. It really outlined how the family was involved from the beginning by giving their experiences and recommendations, and giving lots of educational even recommendations to the National Autism Plan Committee. The Qatar Autism Society, definitely I'm proud to be a member in the Qatar Autism Society since its formation from 2017. They were focusing also on more family-centered educational workshops, educational events that supports the family with evidence-based, of course, information. And they're going to continue their work hand in hand with the Ministry of Public Health and the Ministry of Education, of course, to support the parents. In conclusion, I would really like to emphasize on the role of the Ministry of Public Health in supporting the family and the family-centered education. And I would like to challenge everyone to include our children and to continue supporting our great initiative of family-centered education. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noof. We really appreciate, coming from a personal perspective, and also for you taking time from your clinic today to present to us. So just note, we are running a bit over time. We're hoping that you can remain on the line for at least a few more minutes as we have one more speaker, Dr. Sarah, to present on some aspects of the stigma. And then, of course, just a quick wrap up at the end so that we can read out some of your questions. So, Dr. Sarah, I really appreciate you being with us today. Dr. Sarah Broadhurst is Director of the Autism Education Trust in the UK, who's going to provide a threefold model for reducing stigma in the UK and Qatar. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarah.
Okay, so I'm not going to do the presentation because we've completely run out of time, so that's fine. But can I just check? I have one video that I want to show you that I think really sums up why it's so important to think about autism as a difference, not a deficit, which is at the root of changing attitudes towards stigma. So that's the only thing I'm going to show you, but I just want to check when I share. In fact, I know I haven't clicked the right thing already. Let me just include computer sound. Right. Paula or Garfield, as I start to play, can you just tell me if it is showing on full screen?
Sure. And also, Dr. Sarah, just to know, you can present your presentation as we are recording, and obviously audiences can continue to watch this if they're not able to proceed.
Yeah, unfortunately I have other stuff that I need to attend to, so I too have run out of time. And actually, Paula, it won't let me share it. Maybe you can share it from your side. So it's the Wendy and Sam video.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll do that.
we told Sam at quite an early age about his autism. I think it was the best thing we did, because we've always then had open conversations about it. He came to the stage quite quickly that actually I accept this, it's who I am, I'm proud of it. Our goal has always been for Sam to lead a full and independent life and reach that full potential. I think he's got lots and lots of skills and lots of abilities that could be really well utilised in the workplace and in his community as well. We need to listen to autistic people. Their voice is really, really important. They know what works for them, which can then support policy making. Autism is not anything to be feared. It is a condition. Our autistic young people have so much to offer the world. That is what I would like for every autistic person to feel proud of who they are, because they are such valuable people in our society.
Thank you, Paula. You can stop sharing. So I just want to say that video was put together and filmed by the Autism Centre for Education Research at Birmingham University. They are one of our academic partners here at the Autism Education Trust. And Wendy, the parent that you see in that video, is one of the board members of the Autism Education Trust. I'm really sorry that I don't have time to go through the presentation and present to you our model for reducing stigma. One of the things, though, that is at the centre of that model is the voices of families, parents and people with autism themselves. And if it is at all helpful, Paula Garfield, I'm happy to record it later so that you can share it. But I'm afraid that I do have another thing that I have to go on to, so I too have run out of time, so apologies for that. But I was really interested in all of the talks, so I'm glad I got to hear everybody else's, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to share mine at a later date.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Sarah. And yes, of course, there's enough material here to go on, for quite some time as well. So I'm sure the participants would appreciate, your remarks, be it recorded or via, PowerPoint. The session is being recorded, so those who have signed up would have a copy of that, and we can have that distribution. So very, very much appreciate that. In the interest of time, I think it would be good if we could just perhaps touch on just a couple of the questions that have been posed. I do appreciate that there's been a few questions posed. So just quickly, if we could, the first question I think would be good for perhaps Sam or Dr. Sarah, if you're still on the line, but just curious about the data collection on the statistics, where those numbers come from. That was from Stacey Bellingham. She was surprised by the high numbers of autism.
So I did put a link to a synopsis about the Qatar Biomedical Research Institute information. The research actually it was a two-phase study. So the first phase went into many schools and looked, I think it was around 9,000 students. And then the second phase looked at the Shafala Centre and also Rumaila Hospital here in Qatar. So the research came from those sources. And as I say, I've put a synopsis into the chat box. It's got a link there.
Thank you very much. Just similar questions as well coming in about some supports available, and one from Catherine Harrison. She's asking about does Qatar Foundation offer any scholarships or free places to children who are not Qatari? And a similar one from Stacey Bellingham asking about parents who cannot afford to pay for private services. Does HMC offer such services? So either through Qatar Foundation or do any of our panelists perhaps have anything they could offer on that?
Just on the Qatar Foundation schools, we do have an international profile in some of our schools. Our specialist schools are predominantly for Qatari only. I have to say, just because of demand for places are so high from our national population. The only exception to that tends to be employees of Qatar Foundation or alumni of Qatar Foundation. However, within the general education schools, of which there are many, there is a profile of international students. But again, anyone wanting to reach out, we can give you a link, either Sherri or I, to our head of admissions within Qatar Foundation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. Well, I really appreciate the speakers taking the time today to present. It really was quite an insightful and eye-opening session that we've had today, and clearly more material than an hour and a half certainly could accommodate. So I appreciate all those who have joined. I hope you found it quite informative. Again, this recording will be circulated as well for all those to benefit. And in terms of the next sessions that are coming up, keep an eye out. Do register. If you are an alumni on the alumni network, there's a link there so that you can receive information about new and upcoming talk series and more interesting topics to come. So with that, I really do appreciate everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.